back once again to some more Grand Theft Auto Vice City. Today we'll continue on Let's Play, and this is episode 11. In today's episode, we are taking a look at the Rampages. Returning from GTA 3, they task you with using a specific weapon to kill a specific number of gang members in the allotted time limit. This specific one here, for example, at the base of the lighthouse, challenges us to kill 30 gang members using the Molotov cocktails. I do recommend going for full health and armor before starting any of the Rampages as a precaution. Also, fuck Sony Vegas for ruining the audio on this, so I'm having to now re-record this. Back to the actual correct audio. And your reward for doing them is $50 plus $50 every time you complete a rampage. So for example, this first rampage will award you with $50, rampage number 4 would award you with $200 because it increases in $50 each time. There are 35 of these total, and there is only 16 on this first island, so they're all we're worrying about today. This lighthouse one, pretty straightforward. They don't seem to particularly be that bothered about you setting their friends on fire. Do bear in mind though of the blast radius of the Molotov cocktail. It does have quite a wide one. Trying to throw these things on a PS2 controller is not particularly great. So you do sort of just have to volley and hope that you can get them relatively fine. It can be a bit awkward. Do recommend full health and armor just in case you set yourself on fire. Or do the firefighter side mission and become invulnerable to fire, but we haven't gotten to that point yet, so I didn't recommend that. Anyways, rampage number 2 is on the beach, just next to the lighthouse actually. Not too far away at all. You'll probably end up doing this one around the same time if you happen to see the marker, which in all honesty you might end up doing. Anyways, this one is to run over and kill 30 gang members in 2 minutes. I do recommend something with a good amount of durability and off-road ability. The BF injection here is a pretty perfect car for this. You know, maybe a Rancher, something of that sort. Definitely no sort of sports cars because they'll struggle on dirt, and you do need it to be durable because the gang members will fight back on this one. They do seem to pay attention when you run over their fellow colleagues. In this case it is Diaz gang members who only use pistols. I don't believe you have to deal with any gang members that use anything above the grade of a simple pistol, but still in decent amounts of people they can certainly get you. The key to this one is to sort of drive around, keep evading, getting ran over. You sort of just want to hit and run each time. You don't want to sort of stick around, line up perfect members and all the rest of it. You sort of just want to get in there, make sure they don't retaliate too badly, and get out there. Of course you've got to hit them with some amount of speed. It does help when your tyres are not popped, because of course that does reduce your forward momentum, but it isn't too difficult. Again, BF injection would probably be the vehicle I'd recommend. It does have a decent amount of durability and it is very excellent for off-roading. Once you've done that, $100 are yours. Next up, rampage number 3 involves coming to the Ocean Beach car park once again. We've seen quite a bit of this car park inside missions, and this time around is no exception. To get onto this roof, simply badly jump off the ramp, or you can just sort of fall on it, whatever works. The rampage token, you might have seen it as we was approaching here, is just at the edge of this building. So just run into that, and then this one will task you with killing 25 bikers with the semi-automatic sniper rifle, which is a new addition to the game. Unlike that horrible bolt action thing in GTA 3, and unlike those horrible sniper rifle rampages in GTA 3 where you need to aim for the head, in this game you don't need to do such thing. You just need to kill the bikers with this semi-automatic sniper rifle. As far as I can tell, at least if you're up on this rooftop, the bikers just seem to run away over trying to attempt to have a go at you, so you're pretty okay. The semi-automatic sniper rifle has a ridiculous fire rate, a very, very quick reload, and can massacre a number of people in a matter of seconds. So long as you can figure out how to aim on a PlayStation controller, if you are playing this on PlayStation like I am, which is difficult because there's a bit too much sensitivity in the controls for my liking, this one is pretty straightforward. Thankfully, because it's not the bolt action sniper rifle from GTA 3, there's no real need for accuracy on this one, because you can just spam it as much as possible. You don't need to, you know, line up perfect shots and all the rest of it. As long as you sort of hit anywhere on their body pretty much and just hold down the trigger, you should be okay. Once you've done that, you can just drop down because the bikers don't seem to care. There's also a fair bit of money on the floor with this one, so make of that what you will. Rampage number 4 involves coming to this pink complex. This one is actually quite hidden and kind of hard to find if you don't know where it is specifically, just next to the petrol station and the car wash. It is down one of these alleyways, I think. I do have a hard time finding it. It's... There you go. Just behind the gate. So turn left as soon as you come into the gate instead of doing what I did, and you'll be much better for it. This one is a bit more difficult. Unlike in GTA 3, some of these do involve using melee weapons on Rampages, which is awkward because that means you need to get as close to people as possible. You are attacking the Haitian gang. They will attack you. I don't know if this is a case of, because there is missions that involve the Haitians later on. I don't know if this rampage after you complete that mission has the disguise being hostile towards you by default. If it does, that's a bit awkward. But yeah, the chainsaw, you can't sprint with it, which is awkward. You just have to sort of jump everywhere. The Haitians will try to attack you. Thankfully, the chainsaw, you can sort of run and hit with it, or rather just sort of constantly keep it running and massacre people that way, so it's a little bit easier in that regard. But still a pretty difficult rampage. Again, full health and armor definitely recommended for this one, because you do have to get right up close on people. There's no sort of pussying about taking it from a safe distance on this one. Also, police attention, because for some reason that's a thing during rampages. Yeah, no, that can be a bit awkward. Anyways, once you've done that, run away as quickly as possible. Try not to get killed by a bunch of Haitians, and away we go. Speaking of melee ones, and this was probably the most difficult rampage I found for me personally. If you come to this sort of complex near the paint spray in Ocean Beach, just down that alleyway, and then there's sort of a selection of mini apartments, if you will, and then sort of somewhere in that complex is this one. This one tasks you with killing 10 gang members in 2 minutes with the katana. The katana is not as good as the chainsaw. It cannot keep contact attacks. Also, it's very weird. Tommy prefers to kick and stuff with this one instead of swinging at people and embezzling people once they're on the floor. So it can be a bit awkward. So the best opportunity I saw as well, because Cubans, which is the gang you have to target in this one, do gather in quite large groups. What I tried to do is get it so they can't really run away, try to get a limited amount of them in this walkway here, you know, and then just try and stab at them while they're in the initial group. It is very difficult, this one. Again, as you can see, you sort of slash at them, they fall over, but they don't actually die. If you try and do this in the open street, you know, you'll encounter a group of about 15-20 Cubans, and they'll just rip you to shreds. So it really is a case of just trying to get them in as close quarter as possible. Again, I find this sort of walkway here works. They don't really spawn down alleyways particularly. Also, once the medics arrive, if they do arrive, go ahead and use those. They'll revive gang members, but they won't have any weapons on them afterwards, so it does make it a little bit easier in that regard. Next, a rampage involves going up to a apartment block just past the hospital. We also have to go up to this way for a hidden package. There's two ways you can go about it. You can go from the main entrance of the hospital like I did and just around the grassy knoll, or you can attempt to jump up onto the ledge from the stairs, which I find doesn't work particularly well. Anyways, the job here is to kill 25 members with the carbine rifle. The carbine rifle is a pretty good weapon, and on PC this rampage is probably hilariously easy. However, on console you have to use manual aim for the carbine. I mean, you can fire it into thin air and get a few people that way. I think I do that in the end, and sort of the auto aim will correct it. But you can't actually target people. So you have to deal with the manual aim, which again involves using the PlayStation controller for precise aiming, which it's not very good at. And also, because of the way manual aim works, unlike on PC where you can just sort of fire forever and forget about it, on console you actually have to deal with the recoil of the weapon. Thankfully the carbine rifle is not quite as bad as something like a Kruger, but it is still kind of hard to get follow-up shots on. So do bear that in mind. That guy got ran over by the ambulance, which is a bit unfortunate for him. But yeah, thankfully you are in an elevated position with this one. They don't seem to really attack you. I think they try to, but because of where I was positioned, they couldn't actually fire high enough upwards. So yeah, that one can be a bit awkward. Next up, Rampage number 7 involves the Washington Mall, another place that we visit quite a lot in these episodes. Of course, we're doing unique stunt jumps off of these. And our task here is to kill 25 gang members in 2 minutes with the pump action shotgun. I suggest just falling into the mall. I tried to get a good shot on people from up there, but it just wasn't really working. The pump action shotgun, thankfully in this game, is incredibly fast firing. There is an adrenaline pill there as well, if you do want to take that to make aiming and so on a little bit easier. You shouldn't really need it. Thankfully, again, Cuban gang members, pistols, as long as you don't let them get too close, you are a-okay. And like I said, the pump action shotgun is pretty good. It does have the katana issue where it can sort of just launch people onto the ground and eventually they'll get back up, which is kind of annoying. But yeah, other than that, there isn't too many issues. Once you finish massacring the mall, I just came out onto the open streets because that seemed like the best thing to do. It seemed like there'd be more to spawn on the streets than in the mall itself. Unless I circle back into the mall. I don't remember, I recorded this a while ago. I think they do spawn on the streets though. I was getting a little bit worried considering the time limit, but eventually a group of them appears there. So yeah, you just have to sort of wait for people to spawn. But yeah, once you finish in the mall, just come out because I don't think you can get far away enough from the mall for them to actually respawn. Could be wrong on that. Either way, it's easier to do it on the street anyway. The shotgun's got pretty decent range. This isn't a COD game where shotguns have really piss poor range. It seems pretty darn effective no matter which way you spray it. So yeah, not too bad. And once you've done that, $350, and again, just escape all the angry Cubans that are chasing after you. Rampage number 8 involves this beach hotel, going up onto the diving boards more specifically. So because it's elevated, you know it's going to be another manual aim weapon, and indeed it is. This time around it is the semi-automatic sniper rifle, and if you thought the last Rampage involving the semi-automatic sniper rifle was pretty easy, it's about to get a whole lot easier than that. This time round you have 2 minutes to kill 10 gang members. Not 25, 10. I don't know why this one is as hilariously easy as it is, but yeah, again, you pretty much can't get attacked from up here. The Cubans don't even seem to really run away, particularly when their friends get injured. They're just sort of like, oh, my friend just got shot, let me just sort of stand and keep having a conversation with you. Yeah, not very smart Cubans, evidently, but no offense to any Cuban viewer, I of course mean the Cubans in the games. But yeah, pretty darn straightforward Rampage, very, very easy one. Probably the easiest one as far as this particular section's concerned. Not the most fun, not the most satisfying, but certainly probably the easiest. Speaking of the same beach hotel, just behind it a little bit before you actually get to the pool, so I guess you could do this one before. If you prefer hiding in the bushes, you will find a Rampage number 9, which tasks you with killing 30 gang members with the fully automatic Spaz shotgun. Now, if you thought the pump action was good, you haven't seen this thing. The fire rate on it's pretty crazy, lethality of it is pretty darn good. Tommy seems to have a bit of an issue aiming it for some reason, but other than that, yeah, pretty darn good. There's like some weird sort of cocking animation after he's finished shooting it. But as long as you sort of stay on the trigger and don't change targets too much, it should be okay. Anyways, as you can see, the target was to kill 30, and within 30 seconds I killed more than that. Yeah, it's a very, very satisfying good weapon, and it's especially nice when it's got lots of ammo. And again, pick up all the money if you want, and away you go. Speaking of hotels, next we come to this sort of resort near the Tooled Up, so I'll just call it the Tooled Up Hotel. Where somewhere around here, there you go, we have another Rampage. Rampage number 10 tasks you with killing 25 gang members with the MP5 submachine gun, the best submachine gun in the game, although it is not portable, unlike the other few. So most submachine guns in this game you can sort of walk around firing one-handed. This weapon, not so much, but that doesn't really matter in the context of this particular rampage. As I said, the MP5, pretty darn lethal. In all honesty, in the PS2 version of the game, considering the assault rifles do not have the auto-aim feature, the MP5 probably is the best assault weapon you can have in the game in terms of ease of use and lethality. I was shooting paramedics, don't quite know why, considering they would just revive the gang members, but that's what I decided on. Also, you can't pick money up mid-rampage, which is kind of strange. But yeah, again, pretty straightforward, very, very good weapon, lots of range, lots of firepower with the MP5. And the hotel's pretty big, so they'll sort of spawn all up there. They never seem to be particularly bothered by me on that one. But there you go. Next up, Rampage number 11. Speaking of submachine guns, we now have to do the submachine gun specialty, the one party trick it has in the Grand Theft Auto games, and that is a drive-by. More specifically, on this Vice Point's cul-de-sac rampage, it is to kill 35 gang members by drive-by. Now, you can also use drive-by for the MP5. I didn't think it was really necessary, however, in this case with the Uzi, it does actually make things a lot easier. You've got the armor of a car, and also the submachine guns seem to gain lethality when fired from a car, so that's something worth bearing in mind. I would recommend using something with a decent amount of durability during this, because again, the gang members will retaliate and fight back when they see you gunning down their homeboys. I obviously did not follow my own advice and just picked the first car that I found on the street. I don't quite recommend going that route. I'm trying to think of good durable cars that would be useful for this. Some sort of muscle car. You don't need anything particularly quick, so I guess you could stick with something like a Rancher or a BF injection. Just something with a decent amount of mass. Something that will kill people. Also, you can't pick up police bribes either. All pickups seem to be disabled in Rampages, which I sort of get for the weapons, but I don't get for much else than that. But yeah, anyways, this one's pretty straightforward. It is the most people a Rampage ever tasks you with killing, but you've got a car, so you can just sort of drive around and hit them that way. It's not too difficult. Just find a clump of enemies, and then just sort of fire. The range, yeah, okay, the range is pretty good on it. And of course, once you start gunning down some of them, they will start running towards you. So if you can get them at a range, they'll sort of run single file towards you, which is kind of nice, in all honesty. Makes things a little bit easier. Again, pistols won't really affect the car too much, so don't overthink the durability thing. I managed to do it just fine in this Phoenix. But, you know, if you are a bit unsure of your abilities to kill things, then perhaps more durability would be the way you'd like to go. Anyways, with that completed, $550 in your back pocket, and we are rolling upwards towards a Leaf Links Bridge, which is where we were before. And it's time for another melee rampage. Thankfully, the final melee rampage that we have to deal with on this particular island, and thankfully it's not with the bloody katana. This time around, we are doing a very, very similar thing to what we did in Ocean Beach at the Pink Complex. We are killing 20 gang members with the chainsaw in 2 minutes. I believe it's Cubans are the source of your anger on this one. Not sure why it's the Cubans. I feel kind of bad for them now. But again, pretty darn straightforward. Thankfully, the Cubans, unlike the Haitians, which may or may not ruin that rampage in Ocean Beach, the Cubans are never hostile to you in the game by default. Of course, they will be when you start killing them one by one, but as far as they go in the base game, they don't really particularly bother with you. So, chainsawing them to death, it shouldn't be too difficult. Again, you know, thankfully this one's pretty close quarters anyway. You can sort of get a lot of them sort of near this jetty, which works out pretty well. And yeah, pretty straightforward. Again, chainsaw, just sort of keep it constantly rolling. Try to make sure he doesn't do that posturing thing where sort of he swings at people. You want to be running around with the chainsaw and using it. Anyways, at the final beach hotel, we have another rampage sort of on the sand. This one right next to a purchasable safe house that you can make. And again, it is the most sort of northernly eastern beach. Most northern hotel, the last hotel on the beach, hence final beach hotel. Anyways, 25 gang members with my personal favourite weapon in the game, the Python. I said the MP5 was probably your best assault weapon in the game. However, in terms of actual best man-portable weapon in this game to use, I mean, it's got to be the Python. That one-hit lethality to pretty much anything. The fire rate's pretty good. And again, yeah, it's just that lethality. It will put someone down in one shot. There's no knocking someone back with a Python. It's all just instant death-dealing destruction. The most powerful handgun in the world. And yeah, it really feels it. That's the weapon that I prefer. And again, a very, very simple Rampage when it comes to using that bloody thing. Next up, Rampage number 14 is at Vice Point, next to the mall, just sort of on the northern entrance. Just come up this little building way, the smallest building right at the top. And yeah, you will see the other Rampage behind there. Again, it is time for another drive-by Rampage, this time killing 30 gang members in 2 minutes, which at the mall, there's actually more people around, so it's a little bit easier than that last one. The streets seem a lot more populated around the mall, and it is the poor Cubans that are befalling us again. Once again, as with the last drive-by Rampage, do recommend something with durability. Also, don't use the same car twice, would probably be my recommendation, without getting it repaired at the very least. You don't really want to mess about with that. I gave up with the ambulance because it had a flat tyre, which meant it was pretty slow, so I just stole this taxi. I guess you can steal another vehicle if need be, but it wastes time and also exposes you to retaliation, I find. So I try to sort of get a car with decent amounts of durability straight off the bat, but in this case I didn't, so the taxi was fine. And yeah, once again, another drive-by Rampage. Pretty fun, the drive-by Rampages, in all honesty, and you can cause a lot of death and destruction on those. Next up, Rampage number 15, Vice Point Mall East. This one tasks you with killing 35 gang members with the carbine rifle. This is one that you might have some difficulty with. Unlike the last Rampage involving the carbine rifle, you are not in an elevated position for this one, so they will sort of gang up and attack you. I believe this is the one where I just ended up using the spray and aim. Because obviously you can't auto-aim with the rifle, the game compensates for you a little bit. It will fire up on angles. You don't need to be 100% accurate. Sort of if you spray in a direction, the bullets kind of end up meeting who they need to, but even still. Eventually I sort of tried to come up here and crouch to reduce the recoil, see if that would help, and popping the head of this police officer, probably a bad idea in retrospect. But yeah, again, it's a little bit of a shame. On PC I can imagine this one is very fun. On console, not so much, especially when you have a bunch of police officers who want to shoot you. No idea why they want to do that. I did get through it in the end though. 35 is quite a steep number as well. Granted, again, as I said previously, the streets are pretty populated with gang members, but even still, this one can be a bit awkward, especially if you want to stay in one place and they won't spawn. But luckily I managed to poke my head out here and sprayed into them. They do like to dive out the way of bullets as well, bastards. Just get shot. But yeah, again, I'm shooting at paramedics, which I shouldn't be doing, and also apparently a paramedic. Okay, that's why I was shooting the paramedics, so they were reviving the bloody policeman. Again, full health and armor for this one, because you might have to get a bit close to compensate for the PlayStation 2 lackluster aim. Anyways, pop his head off, and that is the end of that Rampage. Again, in my opinion, probably one of the harder ones. Not quite on the level of the melee challenges, probably the worst gun Rampage in the game. And finally, let's end things the correct way with some fireworks. We started with fire, and we're going to end it with, well, rockets. It's time to go inside the mall, up towards Vinyl Countdown, and you will see a sort of planted area. Just in there, there is the Rampage. Kill 30 gang members in 2 minutes with the rocket launcher. Again, full health and armor recommended for this one. And much like with the Molotov cocktails, try to get a decent amount of distance from you, because of course this has blast radius. The other thing you want to do, and this is worth bearing in mind, try to keep an eye on your surroundings before you start blasting people on this one, because they will try to come up close to you and punch you in the face, and even if you're not directly aiming at them, there is a chance the rocket will just go off and blow them up. So you really want to make sure they don't get too close to you, because again, otherwise you will have to take them out, and taking them out will reduce a great chunk of your health and waste some time. As you can see here, you know, they're literally there, which was a bit awkward, but thankfully there was two guys just out of my vision. If there wasn't, and I was not as desperate as I was, I'd have to try to run away, but even still, with the rocket launcher, it's kind of difficult to do that, because the rocket launcher is not a weapon you can sprint with. But yeah, anyways, that is all 16 rampages done here on the East Island, thankfully. Not too difficult, but you know, not quite as bad as GTA 3, but still something worth bearing in mind. Anyways, thank you all very much for watching this episode of the Grand Theft Auto Vice City Let's Play. I do hope you've enjoyed. Next time I'm going to be taking a look at the store robberies, so join us for that. Until then, farewell.
You know the sorrow that my heart holds in, knowing just where my hopes and dreams are going. I'll only you pay. Got up in a wall that you are not part of. Eyes on the slit of your father with love.